Cameron Saaiman, thanks for coming on the show. Let's start off let's get the elephant out the room. How does it feel to tell people you are a UFC athlete?
Thank you so much for having me here. And it is quite weird still because I think it's just because I'm such a massive fan of the sport. It's surreal. I think it's going to really kick in once we travel. Yeah. And, we're traveling in about a few days. So going there and just seeing all the guys and meeting up with the UFC staff, I think it's then going to kick in properly.
I'm excited for you because... Yeah. I think I've followed your career from day one, and you haven't been, with all due respect, you haven't been in this game a long time as a professional. Yeah. I know that you've put in the yards. Before that, you studied the game, but this is so awesome because it just shows the talent that we're producing in this country, and that someone who is as young as you are can chase a dream, get an opportunity, and make it count. Because that Contender Series moment that went viral, by the way, that's put your name up in lights. How has your life changed since that? I mean, I keep telling people, like, have you heard of Cameron Saaiman? They're like, yeah, name sounds familiar. I'm like, well, take note because he's going to be a household name. But when Dana White tells you're the future of an organization, that's goosebump stuff, man.
Yeah, that was also weird. Just having him say that was surreal. I think I'm very fortunate to have the opportunity, and I think the opportunity and the hard work met up perfectly. So and that's just testament again to my team. I've said it on multiple interviews, multiple podcasts. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Team CIT and for Coach Morne Visser. So it's really just amazing to have a band of brothers backing me. And I've been a professional fighter for I think we're closing into 4 years now, which I lost a year and a half to COVID. So it's not been that long. Before that, about 6 years of mixed martial arts experience. So, and I think COVID also taught us that we need to really take the opportunities once it's given to us. We didn't plan on going onto the Contender Series, and when the opportunity arose, we took it with both hands.
When that sort of text message came through, Coach Morne was like, listen, what was going through your mind? Did you think he was joking? Or he jokes a lot. Got a serious dude. Big shout out to Morne.
Especially when it comes to fighting, I don't think he jokes around a lot. He takes it super seriously. But when I think the first thing, I think it was Dricus that first told me, because his management were on the verge of signing me as well. And then they said, okay, they have this opportunity for a bantamweight. And then Coach called me and he said, okay, this is the guy. We're doing this. And I was like, okay, great. Well,
So you didn't actually have a say?
No. Okay. No, not at all. But also, I'm always in camp. Yeah. Even after fights, I take off maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, not even. Yeah. And then I get very irritated not being in the gym, not seeing, because all of my training partners are my best friends as well.
Sure.
Like, not seeing my friends. It's my second home. So I get pretty frustrated very quickly after fights, and then I want to get back in there. So after the Sandile Manangela fight, I took off I took off I think 6 days, and then I was back in the gym training. So and then we had Josh Wang-Kim was the name that popped up. Luckily it didn't change, and that was the guy we were prepping for.
And then take us to the moment. I mean, the stars aligned in a way. You get the victory, and at that moment, is the adrenaline pumping? I mean, give us an idea. Just take us back to that, walking up to the octagon, and you're like, oh my God, it's Dana White. Oh my God, it's Las Vegas. You know what I mean? It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, it was so weird. Even like in the warm-up, Herzog, the referee, he came in and I was like, man, you're the guy in the UFC game. So I was fanboying about a ref, it's weird, but it was just so surreal. Seeing some of the biggest stars that I look up to in the crowd was absolutely amazing. Meeting some of the UFC fighters before the fight was insane. And I actually fell asleep in the warm-up area just before the fight, which was also a great sign. That has happened since my fight with Ruvan de Beer.
Really?
every single time I go to the warm-up area about an hour and a half before I'm supposed to start activating, and then I take like a 30-minute cat nap. And I actually started doing that after reading Rocky Marciano's biography.
Okay.
And he always napped before fights. So I was like, okay, if I can take a nap before a fight, heart rate is set, nerves are okay, manageable, it's still high but it's manageable, then we're gonna have a good roll. So
And you're alert after that, or
Yeah,
because like
super.
me, if I wake up from a power nap, I need some coffee or something just to get the clock ticking. But then I'm not a professional athlete.
yeah, I'm now again, like I know guys that wake up and it takes them about an hour to get there, you know.
Yeah.
So, but I'm like a light bulb and a switch going.
Okay.
I'm ready to start the day. So, yeah, just taking a nap before the Contender Series fights and really being very calm. I still remember coach was actually quite nervous because my heart rate was too low, and we need to push it up before the fights and get properly warm. And so I was fine until about they had like the small previews, and I was walking out first, and then about 10 seconds before the preview is done, I was like, oh, okay. The feeling in the stomach is there. The heart rate is going up easily. And then
This is real.
Yeah. So I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
All of them are out there.
Yeah.
So, and then walked out, and even like the cut man that put the Vaseline on my face, I'm like, I know you too.
so
I
cool.
can't remember your name, but
Boston Strong,
yeah.
I think, on the back. Anyway, yeah.
So it was awesome. And, you know, after the first round, I think I was down one round, but I was still not nervous. I knew I was good enough to be in there. And, you know, credit to Josh Kim, he's an absolute amazing athlete. Before that, I think he was 15-1 as an amateur, and then he was 5-1 as a professional, and he had one a DQ loss.
Yeah.
So we knew we had a crazy fight on our hands, and we wanted to keep it standing to make a statement. And luckily in the third round, we caught him, and I think the first feeling was really just a sign of relief. Like, even if I thought I might not get a contract because of my age, but I was relieved that I firstly won the fight because I hate losing, but also
Something you haven't tasted yet.
Yeah. I don't want
We'll
to.
get to that. We'll get to that. Hopefully you don't. But
Yeah.
anyway, carry on.
But it's just, it was a sign of relief, and then obviously just Boss Dana calling me a badass was just so cool. It was so sick. And afterwards, also, I told coach beforehand, after the fight, I want to go to the PI. If you're in the Contender Series, you're not actually allowed access to the Performance Institute because
Oh, wow.
you're not a
contracted athlete.
You're not a UFC athlete.
Okay, yeah.
So the moment I get my contract, I want to go to the PI. I want to go to my head office.
Yeah.
And that was actually the only reason why I wanted to go there.
But it was so cool because it just showed like how hungry you were.
It just shows you how attentive and hungry coach is as well, because after the fights, I had a 40-minute session and he had a long list of stuff
Wow.
we already had to fix,
Yeah.
which was awesome. So the mindset never changed at all.
Yeah.
We keep on improving, and we showed that literally the evening of the fights.
Congratulations, man. You did South Africa proud and your gym proud. And I think it was just like, it was that spark moment. You know, I think a lot of people realized it's not just about Dricus.
Yeah.
There's another kid on the block and he means business.
Yeah, and that's also credit to Dricus as well. He's paving a way not only for South Africans but for our team as well. He was the front runner in that, and I think it's up to me to prove that. Every single time we need to prove that it's not only Dricus.
Yeah.
You know, he's always going to be our front runner. He's always going to be the guy that is setting trends, and hopefully we can jump onto that and also create our own records because of that. So I feel there's a lot of almost responsibility on us to keep the good momentum going. So that's why working as hard and taking it as professional as possible is so important. So
Yeah,
we're just going to continue.
That's my
doing
next
that.
question, because and I'm dying to find out, were you a kid that watched kung fu movies? You know what I mean? Or downloaded the UFC from legal sites? You know?
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's like there is a responsibility, like it or not. You've now, this is actually where the hard work starts.
Yeah.
And I think hats off to you guys, because CIT, and I'm, I've got to deal with you guys over the years through the EFC, but you guys have always conducted yourselves professionally. Whenever we get there, you guys are sparring the crap out of each other. It's like you setting that level. Now I think the onus is on you to try and find that next level. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think it's always going to be like that. The moment when I was an amateur, all I wanted to do I didn't even know about the UFC, to be honest, until about maybe 16 years old. So I was already practicing the sport for 3-4 years before I really got into the UFC. I was obsessed with the UFC. I knew every fighter. I knew their stats. Please don't ask me now, but it's just, I was so obsessed with, I looked up so much to the guys here in South Africa, because I knew all I wanted was one fight in the UFC, because I just thought it was cool. Watching Samurai Jack as a kid, watching American Dragon, watching Karate Kid, stuff like that was like, it was just cool. Yeah. And as a 12-year-old kid, trying that on my little brother, the poor guy suffered a lot. But it was always like, okay, it's in reach, so we're going to work towards that. And never in my mind that I thought we'll go to the UFC. And then as we got better, then it's like, okay, but maybe something else is in reach, maybe an international organization. Then we won the UFC world title, and then we were like, okay, maybe we can run a few fights internationally and go to the UFC.
Yeah.
And now we're there. So I think it's always going to be, you're going to chase that next step. And even now, I'm working super hard to make this debut a success, which I know I will. And after that, it's going to be climbing the ranks, going after ranked 30th, 25th, 20th, the top 10, proving that we are some of the best in the world. And then obviously the world title is always on the mind. It's my screensaver on my phone. It's something that we are chasing, and we are planning to get that.
Yeah, your phone's in safe hands with my technical producer, Tyler. She's charging it as we speak. And we also need to get some decent mugs, please, Tyler. I think we need some branded mugs.
Yeah.
Please, your coffee's going to get cold if you don't have a sip, because you've been doing all the talking, which is great. But I think what's interesting for me is, let's go back to that youngster who's looking at the EFC as a pinnacle at that point, right? As somewhere you want to be. Who did you look up to? And was there a particular fighter that, there's been a lot of guys that have been pioneers for MMA in South Africa, and hats off to them, because they have paved the way. There's no doubt. But was there someone you looked up to watching on TV while you were checking out the stats on the internet and that sort of thing?
I must say, the first experience of a guy that I really followed was Gareth McClellan. And I've said that before, because I think it was my uncle or my father that said they had those EFC magazines at that stage with the fight card in it.
Yeah, that's right.
He was like pointing at this guy, because I was falling asleep right through the evening. I was just too tired. I think I was about 10, 11 at that stage.
Gee, so you were that young at your first EFC?
Yes.
Physically?
I might have been, because I chatted to my dad as well. I think, but I can't remember that. I was maybe at an event before that, when it was still at the Coca-Cola Dome.
Jeez, those were
but then I was
small.
I can't remember that experience. But he said
there were fights in the car park and
fights
8,000
everywhere.
people at the Dome. It was wild. It was wild. Sorry, carry on.
So the first experience of a guy I really started to follow was Gareth McClellan, just because of my dad or my uncle, I can't remember, just pointing at him and saying, you have to at least wake up for this fight. And so that was really the first experience I had, because these guys were like celebrities to me, But I must say, Leon Maynard Leon Maynard and DeMart Penna was the two guys that I followed the most. I still remember DeMart Penna had like these supporter shirts where it was half of his face and half of a wolf on the back. Yeah. And I wanted one of those shirts so badly. But Leon Maynard was his fights against Don Madge, all three of those fights. I think it's EFC 13.
Yeah.
I had all the DVDs, but EFC 13 was playing on repeat, because that fight was absolutely insane.
It could have been the greatest. It could be one of the greatest ever.
100%. I think that is close. Yeah. I can't even think of another fight. It's very hard to think of another fight.
No ways.
A more enjoyable win is obviously Dricus and Bahati.
Oh, yeah.
Just after the amount of shit he was talking. That was just a bittersweet moment. It was in the sense of like I was so bitter that it finished so quickly because I wanted him to punish him like for 15 minutes. And the fans in that fight was absolutely insane.
It was crazy.
Yeah. I thought that place is gonna cave in. So, but yeah, Leon Maynard Don Madge.
Yeah,
crazy,
no, awesome.
crazy. So,
I wanted to get your thoughts. Like, the EFC has obviously shaped your life and give you opportunities, but had the UFC not come along, do you think it would have been a KSW or a Cage Warriors or something like that you would have considered? Because obviously Dricus went EFC, the KSW, won the belt, lost the belt. You know, it also shaped him in a way. Yeah, because he's evolved into this incredible athlete now who's doing wonderful things and now fights someone in the top 10. Yeah, it's awesome. Can't wait.
Yeah. And finishing a guy in the top 10 in a few weeks' time.
I can't wait. Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think his journey is much different than mine. I think he's had a lot of years to almost settle into that position where I think mine was pretty quick. Yeah. But I think also we train with those guys every single day.
Yeah.
So it's nothing new. The traveling is obviously new. I've only traveled once for a fight, but also we do everything super professional. Training, eating, sleeping, everything we try and do as professional as possible to make the transition easier.
Yeah.
If I didn't get the opportunity, I would have defended my belt probably against the guy that is now training with us, Zulu Boy.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So I think that was a fight I wanted just because of his reputation in the bantamweight division and in the flyweight division. He is really I would say at this stage the most decorated UFC fighter, except Ige.
Yeah.
So it would have been either Ige or Zulu.
Yeah.
And going up in weights, that would be fun because I walk around at a heavy weight. So
the weight cut quite brutal for you.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Right.
I'm not going to disclose what I walk around at, but it's not easy.
Okay.
Yeah. So I hope I'm a pretty big bantamweight.
No, I think you are, but I'm just curious because I've never thought of that. I think because you've done it so well, that there hasn't been a reduction in power. The gas tank's been fine. You've walked around. You've always looked in incredible shape, but you are a big bantamweight.
And that's shout out to Coach Scotty McIntosh.
Also does amazing work.
Amazing work. Yeah. He's always ensuring that our athletes are in tip-top shape and that the weight cuts is as smoothly as possible. But that was always the plan, was Ige or Zulu. Defending my title, which I really wanted to do. I wanted to defend my title and I wanted a second one.
Was that to prove a point
yes.
that you are the apex predator?
100%.
Okay.
It was just a thing. People always say, I once received a comment where someone said, it looks like you have a chip on your shoulder, which people always take as negative. Of course I have a chip on my shoulder. I have something to prove. So, and I think that it can either crush you, it can make you bitter, and it can make you really stupid, or it can be a motivational factor.
Yeah.
It can make you go to the gym earlier. It can make you do more mobility sessions. Whatever the case may be, it's just that was the goal was to prove that every single time we fight, to prove that we deserve to be there. And I think defending that title would have proven that, and also going up a weight would have definitely proven that. Ige is a great fighter. That would have been fun. That would have been a fun fight. But again, it's crazy how opportunities and hard work align, and I'm so grateful that I got the opportunity. So
I think one thing, apart from the talent that you have, you've also been a guy who's, when an opportunity's presented itself, you've grabbed it with both hands and you've shook it around the room and you've had your way with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And those results are paying off now. Yeah. The big thing for me is you haven't, and like I say, I meant this with all due respect, you're still a baby in this game. You're still a young man, which is exciting at the same time, but there's also lessons to be learned along the way.
Of course.
But I think by having a gym around you and guys who have been there, done that makes a huge difference. I know Gareth has been at CIT and he's rolled around and he's helped Dricus and that sort of thing. And having someone like that sort of impart knowledge, because he always tells the story of when he went to Brazil And like they wouldn't even let him sit at the table because he was a foreigner, you know, fighting. And then there's like 60,000 people screaming at him. He's like, what am I doing here? That's stuff that no one tells you until you get there. And now you're getting that.
Yeah.
So do you take in all this knowledge because you are a student of the game, a self-confessed student of MMA?
Well, that's also the thing. I think it's easier for me because I'm obsessed with this. If people ask me, what do I do in my spare time? I watch fights.
Okay.
I do a podcast about fighting. I send fighting clips to friends. Like everything revolves around this. Literally, our Little Legends Academy are my side hustle, if you want to call it that, which I started as a kid. If I'm not training, I'm training kids as well.
Yeah.
You know? So it's always been about this. It's my greatest passion. It's going to be my life's work. You know, if I'm old sitting on a porch, I'm going to look back and I'm not going to regret any of this because it's the funnest job in the world. Yeah, I really do have the funnest job.
Although
in the world.
I prefer watching.
Yeah, of course.
You guys can do what you do.
Yeah. But it's just it's really fun. I wake up every single day, and even we chat about it with our training partners. And then we are literally doing a session, take a small break, we do another session. And during the second session, we're like, we are so fortunate to be in this position where we can literally just do what we want and improve every single day. So it's always been a motivational thing because I want to keep on doing this for long. I'm 22. I'm turning 22 the 20th of December, and I want to be able to fight for very long. And
you'll be celebrating double celebration.
Yes, double celebration. So after the fight, we're going to do the fight, Christmas, and we're going to do the birthday one in one shot.
Nice.
And we're staying for like 2 or 3 days after the fight.
Brilliant.
Poor Vegas.
The South Africans are here to take over. But I think it's interesting because, let's be honest, MMA is a tough sport, not just physically, but financially also. You know, and a lot of you guys rely on sponsors and that sort of thing. And at times you might not get the fight purse that you're looking for fighting in certain promotions. What have you done to earn a bit of bucks before now? Because obviously now your life's going to change. Now that you've got a contract. But beforehand, was it coaching? Was it like little other revenue streams? Or because you have to medical bills, you know, the physio works hard on you guys, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think if you just take medical bills, my diet, and rent, that's a sizable amount of money that has to be paid every month. You know, it's a super expensive sport if you are doing it very well. If you are looking after your body, if you are taking your diet to the extreme, it can become very expensive. I've been very fortunate to have amazing sponsors for the longest of time. So Q4 Fuel was one of our biggest team sponsors.
Yeah, they've been around for a while.
They sponsored me before they sponsored the team, Team CIT. So it was just they were always there. And then as we got better at this lovely sport, we got amazing brands on board, like Buffelsfontein, Boerkola, and it's great because it's South African Afrikaans brands, which obviously we love as well, so USN is part of that, the colony. So I wouldn't be in this position again, just like the team. My sponsors are a part of that team. So it has given me the opportunity to spend more time on training. And obviously we have side businesses and stuff, little stuff that we do to help with that. But it is very hard. It's a hard sport to do as a full-time job, just because of the physical and mental toll that it takes on one. The pressure alone can, kill people.
I was about to ask you about that pressure.
Yeah.
But what is the advice, you're sitting here now, that you give to that 12-year-old who's like, I want to be an UFC fighter?
Yeah. Don't overspend. It's a lot. I see that quite a lot on social media as well. People saying, they can't make it in South Africa, you can't make it, and it's very discouraging because there are a bunch of guys that are making it. Have a presentable social presence is super important, which I was also lucky to do from a very young age, because I saw the potential in obviously social media. Being a kid, I was on it the whole day. So doing that, spending a lot of time on really marketing yourself. I see a lot of the athletes, especially fighters in South Africa, not marketing themselves well enough. And it's just, and I don't think it's really necessarily anything practical. I think it's just attentive. You need to focus on marketing yourself. And I don't think they do that. And just like that, you're going to have to, just like training, you have to be on time. You have to do your session. You have to warm up. You have to cool down. That's stuff that you're supposed to do. Marketing yourself should be on that. And I think we have amazing talent, but people are not seeing that talent. If you have a big billboard, but the lights are off, no one's going to see the billboard. So it's just one of those things where people have to start being attentive on that. And if your talent, the opportunity, and then you showcasing your talent, if those things align, then opportunities will come knocking.
I like that billboard analogy. That's very cool. I'm going to steal that. Thanks.
Yeah, cool.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. I'll
make a note of that.
Yeah, I'll take royalties from that. Thanks.
One thing that I've always noticed when I've gone to CIT is, firstly, you guys are always sweating. Like if you're either doing conditioning or whatever it is. I know that you go to the yard and do your stuff there, but at CIT there's this proud culture, and I don't think it's one specific culture, because you've got guys from Angola there, you've got South Africans, Zulu boys there, you know, but it's this incredible culture. Can you sort of, without giving away too many secrets, sort of share just a bit of the insights into that culture? It's definitely a collective thought though, that everyone buys into.
100%. And it's really like a small family. Everyone is there to look after each other, and I think everyone understands that you need training partners in order to get better at the sport. But not only that, there's a sense of pride in having put in time to help someone and having them represent our team. And I think even though you're in the cage alone, I think it's always been a massive team effort. I know you know about the classic Friday evening sparring sessions where we really go at it. Afterwards, have a beer. If you're not in camp, you can have a beer. Otherwise, you're just sadly in pain sitting there.
Sipping on your water.
Contemplating if you want to do this. But it's always been beforehand, before training, we always, like I said, those guys are my friends. We are always there having a chat. It's not only getting there, training, and then leaving. It's always been a little bit more than that. And I think we take a lot of pride in having our guys compete. At the upcoming UFC event, we have 5 guys competing. And I really believe that we can go 5 out of 5 on that night. And it kills me that we can't be there. So because we're gonna miss it, we're gonna probably still be on a plane.
But what's it, like 47 hours or so?
It's crazy. But we're gonna check in when we can. If someone can video call us during the fights, we'll be watching it. It's just we spend so much time together, and we actually invest so much time into each other. It's hard not to be loyal and not to appreciate one's time. So
I'm just pulling up the fight card here. And I mean, like you said, Zulu now against Quendes is one of them. De La Rey.
De La Rey and Billy West.
That's going to be fun.
That's going to be a sick fight. Obviously, I fought Billy, so that's a
Stand
great
and
fight.
bang.
Stand and bang. And we have JC Lamprecht.
Yeah, he's back, eh?
After 10 years.
Unbelievable.
He's back.
He's a unit,
He's a unit,
So, hehe does the security training and all that sort of thing.
The tactical shooting.
Done very well there.
Very, very well. He's his mentality in those trainings, because I've actually done his courses. Shout out to Bravo Tactical.
Yeah, he keeps asking me to go, and I just haven't been yet.
You should go. It's so much fun.
Well, there we go. I'm committing.
It's very long. It's like it's like a proper 8-9 hour thing.
That's cool.
And please take with snacks, because I forgot that the first time. But
so the protein bars and the shorts are stuff built on in that one. Okay, I got you.
But it's very cool, and you learn a lot. But just seeing how professional he is in his training, in his tactical training, and then just literally duplicating that in his training for this fight was so cool to see.
No, that's cool.
It's an absolute killer. And then Sizwe is also fighting.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
That's an interesting,
because he just comes forward, man. He's fearless.
He is fearless, and he has a rock hard head. My hands are so sore because of that guy, because he's relentless and he is so good. I'm very looking forward to seeing how his career shapes in the next year. You know, I think when he finishes Robert, I think next year is going to be a great year for him,
because he's a serial gym hopper.
Yeah,
but he's now. It looks like he's found a home at the most unlikely place that I thought he would ever rock up.
Yeah, right.
CIT.
Yeah.
But he's settled in.
Yeah.
And you can see he's improving.
Yeah, I think he has 1 or 2 fights under us.
Yeah.
You know, and he's a massive asset to my camp as well. So I tell them a lot, like, please stay. please, we like you guys.
Yeah.
We want you guys to be here. And hopefully, I really hope he stays. Yeah.
It's good. I'm excited. Look, it's an exciting card at 100. Nerek Samus, I'm a huge fan. But I'm also a fan of Kai Mbala.
Yeah.
Just because of the way he fights. I don't know the guy at all, but I just like the way, but Nerek is like one of the most talented guys I've ever seen.
Yeah, 100%. And Nerek is... I've said this before as well, but he is so frustrating to train against just because he's so good.
Yeah.
His wrestling is on another level. His stand-up timing, he has such a good flow when he fights. It looks beautiful. It's just like an art. Yeah. And now he's fighting Kyle Bala, which is super explosive, very, very quick.
Yeah.
So it's going to be 2 polar opposites, and they're going to clash. And I'm really looking forward to that fight. It's going to be sick.
Exciting.
Yeah.
No, well, look, as I say, I think there's some spicy ones there. CIT, good luck to all of you guys on the night there, I'm sure. The preparation's done.
Yeah.
It's all systems go, tapering off now, and it's showtime. But I want to get into your fight. December 10th, T-Mobile, right?
T-Mobile Arena. Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome. Next year, I'm going to come and watch you guys.
Please do.
And then we can celebrate afterwards.
Yeah.
But have you got enough tape on your opponents? Give us a little bit of insight into how you prepare, because I don't think anyone can hide these days. There's some tape somewhere on someone, if it's YouTube or wherever it may be. And you obviously study that, but you also have a game plan to use your skill set most efficiently and most dangerously, if you can put it that way.
I don't, when I get an opponent, I don't like watching tape for the first few weeks at all, actually. I don't watch my opponent's fights.
Oh, wow.
For about the first 2-3 weeks, don't watch.
Why is that?
It's more of I want to focus on improving absolutely everything.
Okay.
Ground game, stand-up, wrestling, everything. I want to be as fit as possible by the time we get very focused on a certain opponent. And also, I think, this has happened a few times where opponents change. So now you're training very specifically for 8 weeks, and then your opponent changes.
Oh man, that must be so frustrating.
We see this happening as well, where guys train specifically for someone, they pull out, and then they don't want to take another fight because they were so specific. Now, I don't want to do that. I don't want to pull out. So give me someone else. I don't care. I want to go in there and test what I have trained and not what I've trained for someone.
I got you.
The first few weeks focusing on just improving absolutely everything, and then I watch tape with the mindset of, okay, let's just check mannerisms. Okay. Because most of the time you can change your fighting style, you can switch stance, you can have a grappling heavy game and then change it to just doing stand-up. But key mannerisms will always stay. Yeah. So looking at mannerisms and then formulating a handful of plans for that.
And is that a collective thing that you guys do? Was that just you and coach? Or
no, I must say that's something that's I think my mentality is towards it, and I think every guy has their own. I know Dricus, when he gets a name, he watches tape repeatedly on that guy.
So he would have Darren Till
tunnel vision, and that's great because that works for him. That's his whole cocktail of how he goes about it. So it's a personal preference, and you know, like I was supposed to fight Ronnie Lawrence. He pulled out. So again, that's it. It just helps
It's just,
me.
yeah, exactly.
You know, and at this stage, they have a name. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but they have a.
So I don't even know that this guy's pulled out, because I'm on the UFC website right now, and they've got you fighting him,
Ronnie Lawrence.
Yeah.
So he pulled out. He has an injury.
No.
So
you don't have to mention the name.
Yeah.
Let's rather not, in case we're in breach of contract.
Yeah.
It's okay.
But,
sorry, Dana.
But
Sean.
it's exactly. So, yeah. Sorry. Jammer. But that's my mentality towards training camp. It helps me with stuff like this.
So it proves your point.
It's just I was speaking to my grappling coach this morning, and we have another name, which is not, it's penciled in, but it's not pen to paper at all. So I've been training for him.
Yeah.
So I watch these mannerisms. I have been formulating some plans, working on specific stuff, but also keeping an open mind to it might be someone else.
Yeah.
And we need to be ready for whoever.
So there's a chance when you land in Vegas that there's a new name. Wow.
Yeah, 100%.
But this is the fight game, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you have to be adaptable.
You have to be adaptable. Yeah. We saw it now. It's now recent news. Yuri Prochaska has a shoulder injury, and Teixeira didn't want to fight Ankalaev because he was training specifically for Yuri. Now he's not getting a title fight. So Blaovic and Ankalaev is fighting each other for an interim title. So you have to be ready. And I think especially in the UFC, they're not going to waste their time. If you deny a certain amount of fights, if you have weird reasons for not fighting, if you have repeated injuries, stuff like that, it's at the end of the day, it is a business, and they have to keep on growing. So,
and they're the biggest in the world.
And for good reason, because they don't waste their time and efforts and resources on guys that are not willing to show. So
Glover Teixeira, have you lost respect for him?
Not at all,
because he's champion. You know, you also want to try and control what you can control, I suppose, right?
Yeah, it's just like, no, I understand why he wouldn't want to fight Ankalaev on three weeks notice.
He's a beast.
I understand Teixeira's mindset, 100%.
Okay.
It's just you're gonna have to decide. Okay, do you want to take it on 3 weeks, take a chance and maybe lose, or are you gonna step back? Because he is also older. He's
42, 43, somewhere
and he
there?
probably doesn't have to fight anymore.
He's double your age.
Yeah. Okay. So it's just you also don't know where he is in life outside of this. You know, there's a lot of guys that go through a lot of hardship during camp, and we are still people at the end of the day. We still have normal world problems. So it's, you don't know where he is, but luckily we have a cool main event for that.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you was walkout songs. Like, what? Forgive me, I might be wrong. Is it Sweet Home Alabama that you've used?
Yeah.
Is that your song? Is it still the one?
It's getting changed now for the UFC debut.
Okay. All right. No, we won't have to give the secret away.
Yeah, no, we can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can for sure. Sweet Home Alabama was when I pick a song, I don't even really listen to the words. It's all about the vibes.
Okay, so I got you. Because the crowd really goes like they're up for this.
They love it. Yeah. And it was one of those songs where I always had a smile walking out, because I was always made that connection of like, oh, we're here to have fun. And that's something that coach always reminds us of.
Is that what he tells you? Sorry, Cameron, because he slaps you guys just before you go, and you're like, if you're not awake, you're wide awake. But is that what he's telling you there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Every single time.
Okay, so he just reminds you that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every single time because it's so intense, and even our warm-ups are pretty intense.
Yeah.
Like, we've knocked out each other before backstage.
You're
just
kidding.
accidentally, like very intense, hitting a jab, getting dropped. So it's the pressure is high, the music, the fans, everything, and it's just that final thing of like, remember why you do this. It's the core reason of why you started this, and that's great to have that just before you go into the cage. So Sweet Home Alabama was always
such a tune, man. I love
the fun tune. And recently I was introduced to Greta Van Fleet, like a modern day Led Zeppelin type of band, and they have a song, Safari song, and if you ask me what the words mean, I still have no idea. I just like the sound and I like the feeling of walking out on that.
All right,
And
nice.
So that's going to be the song. And I have this funny thing of like, we're going to probably be fighting a lot of international guys. So we're going to have to take them on a safari.
No, for sure.
So that's the only reason why.
They're the game being hunted, yeah? I got you.
So that was the connection.
So is it just going
picking the
through
song.
like Apple Music or Spotify and going, oh, that song could work? Or
Yeah.
And do you play it for your teammates, or you like,
Yeah.
I'm selfish about this and this is the one I'm going for?
No, we always, so it's such a fun.
It's a committee, a song committee.
In CIT, if Live It Up by Airborne plays in the gym, everyone freaks out. Because if Dricus is there and he hears his song, he gets weird. He just like gets super intense. Because that's his switch.
Yeah.
That's his switch of like, it's fight time.
Yeah.
So it
Live It
has
Up,
happened.
Okay.
The playlist is on shuffle and that song comes on and everyone is super stressed like, where's Dricus?
Oh, wow.
He's not here so we can listen to it.
That's
For me-
hilarious.
For me, I actually like, I don't listen really to music.
Yeah.
When I'm in a car, I love listening to podcasts. At home,
Okay.
I listen to podcasts.
Oh,
I
right,
I
okay.
don't really watch a lot of movies, stuff like that.
Do you have a particular podcast apart from mine that you listen to
Yeah,
often?
yeah, of course. Obviously, the man himself, Joe Rogan,
Okay,
is
yeah,
just the trendsetter. But I've grown to love guys like Flagrant, Andrew Schultz, guys like King and the Sting with Brendan Schaub and Brian Callen.
yeah.
There are actually a few I listen to. There's a
Okay.
lot of
No,
good
so it keeps you
ones.
busy. For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. There's a lot of content. So the song is not that important for
Yeah.
me. I don't warm up with music. I
Okay.
don't. In training, I don't really listen. I don't mind. People can play whatever they want.
So you're not a headphones guy.
No.
Okay.
Sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to be bothered,
Yeah.
and then I put on headphones.
Sure.
But then I'm listening to a podcast. So doing a mobility session and listening to Mr. Rogan,
Okay.
dropping some
Awesome.
knowledge. Yeah.
So when he's interviewing you, that's going to be surreal.
Yeah, I'm the biggest fan. He is the coolest guy on the planet for
I
me.
dare you
so
to ask him for a selfie there and then.
that's 100% part of the plan.
Oh, okay, okay.
I've had that dream a few times. As
Really?
Well. Yeah, 100%.
That's gonna be cool.
100%. I'm a massive fan.
Hey,
so-
Joe, snap that.
Hey Joe, yeah.
That's
yeah,
so
yeah.
cool, man.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
Instagram will explode, bro.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's already exploded.
His will also explode.
Yeah. Touche.
No. But yeah, I'm a massive fan
Oh,
of
that's
him.
cool.
So, yeah.
Let's have a look here. We've got a few more minutes. You've enjoyed your own podcast and podcasting. That does it help you sort of process things, because you speak about a lot of stuff. MSP podcast, right?
Yeah.
You speak about a lot of things that people don't know about on your podcast that you've gone through, or that other fighters go through, amateurs go through.
Yeah.
Has it been cathartic in a way for you to sort of just be able to express yourself and
Yeah.
just create content?
Yeah, I think it's fun. It's fun doing it because, we started the podcast with my friend from school, which is also he's an amateur fighter, and so the name of the podcast first was the Professional Amateurs Podcast, being professionals at being amateurs, and so we started that together because we were just absolute massive fight fans. We had some things to say and we wanted to record that, and then it started transitioning, and then I was thinking, okay, but I want to that why is super important. I just don't want to put stuff out there just for shits and giggles. So it was always a thing of, I want to focus on having great insight for guys that don't know the sport well.
Yeah.
If you know the sport well, you can probably relate to it, and also just having fun. I think if I look at the podcasts I enjoy, it's all very lighthearted. It's very fun. It's very loose. It's not very planned. I think we shot ours yesterday. We were on a rant for about 25 minutes about how many footballers Yoel Romero can fight at one stage, and who is the toughest footballer we'll be able to fight. And then we just called out a few guys like Casper Neuves and stuff like that. So it goes on to a weird...
Well, that's cool, though, because it's yours. You
Yeah.
can talk about what you want.
We can talk about
That's
just
an
what we
interesting
want.
question. Like, Yoel Romero against 20 footballers, he'll definitely win.
Yeah.
I think...
I had like 10 at least.
yeah.
because I think if he leg kicks one of them, it's just like
That's game over.
It's game over.
I'm thinking maybe Vinny Jones is probably the only guy, but he's so old now.
I still didn't, after the episode, I still didn't do my research, but there was a guy, I think his surname is Torres, a massive striker for Wolves, a black guy, but he had like massive legs, super athletic, very explosive.
Is it not Diego Costa?
Maybe Diego Costa.
He likes fighting. Would be that could be an interesting one.
Good
that
fight.
could be spicy, yeah.
And I'm always just trying to set up your show against guys that are celebrities because I just think it would be very funny. So
100%. Yeah. Last one, just before we go. YouTubers fighting boxers and ex-MMA guys.
Yep.
Good or bad for the sport of MMA?
Great for the popularity of the sport to get more casuals into the sport. Not good for the perception of how easy the sport is. I think a lot of guys, a lot of kids, a lot of stuff, they see that and then they say, okay, it's easy, you just go there and you fight, not knowing how much work it takes. You know, like someone like Jake Paul is a great example. People are very mad at him because of his antics, but he's also a proper boxer.
Yeah.
Credit where credit's due.
His records.
His record is good. He looks very good. He trains probably very hard.
Yeah.
If I have to guess, he trains very hard, and he's super professional. So you can't really take anything away from the guy for creating this type of weird avenue.
You see, calling for fighters to get paid more.
Yeah,
which is great. So he's using his platform for good.
Just on the fighters being paid more, fighters get, if you are fighting at the top level, you get paid very well, and it's very subjective to having, you know, if in any job, if I say like I deserve to be paid more, then you're like, okay, but why? And then you need to be able to have
justify
that. And I think the UFC is doing very well because of their structure.
Yeah.
We see that in, you know, we have like grappling tournaments here. It's super hard and it's super expensive to host events. Even hosting a small event at your gym, it's very costly.
Yeah.
So the almost stigma about if you do it well and you're smart about your financials and stuff, you can make a decent living. And also at the end of the day, if this is what you love to do, you know, like I would fight for free as well. It's just like, it's one of those things where we got, if I with my Sandile Manangela fight, if I got offered half of what I got paid, a third, I would have still taken the fight, because it's not about that. It's about leaving a legacy. It's about making records. Yeah. It's about glory. It's more about just getting a payday.
Cameron Saaiman, thank you for coming on the show. It's been an absolute privilege to have you on. I'm so excited to see where your career goes. When we hear Safari blaring out at the T-Mobile and you take your opponent on Safari, and when Bruce Buffer is calling out most savage player, that's going to be surreal. Good luck, all the best, and
thank you.
Let's have you back on the show when all is said and done in Vegas and you've celebrated your 22nd birthday, your victory, and of course Christmas.
Yeah, that would be sick. I can't wait. I'll definitely come back next year, and after maybe a Thailand trip, and then we can talk about that as well.
Fantastic.
So,
what happens in Thailand stays in Thailand.
So they say.
Cameron Saaiman, thanks for your time.
Thank you so much.